So we are in chapter 18, Reptiles and Amphibians in your biology book. And we're going through the key concepts of poikilotherms, lizards, snakes, turtles and tortoises, crocodilians, dinosaurs, and amphibians. And so going on, reptile means creeping. So we have these creeping vertebrates. A reptile, that's what the word means. So there's fewer than 9,000 species of these creeping vertebrates living today. And approximately 16 orders are known from the fossils to have survived, but only only 4 have survived to the present time. So there's a lot of fossils of the lizards that have not survived. Well, not lizards, of lizards and snakes and turtles and crocodiles and dinosaurs and such in the fossil record. So let's, going on here, let's go on to describing. Here we go. So we have the group lizards, Squamata, suborder Lacertilia, and they're elongated, four-legged, scaly reptiles with eyelids. Nictitating membranes is like that third eyelid type. Ears, legs with claws, and tapered tails. These are lizards. The number of species is 5,500. We have species such as the Komodo dragon and the frilled lizard, the Gila monster, the anole. These are types of lizards. On to the snakes here. What do we have for snakes? The order again is Squamata, so lizards and snakes are in the same order. The suborder is Serpentines, and they're legless, scaly reptiles with long cylinder bodies, lacking eyelids and outer ears. 2,900 species. There's the long-nosed tree snake, emerald boa, king cobra. There's a lot of different examples of snakes. And on to turtles, order Chelonia, reptiles with shells and toothless jaws. There's like 300 species living. And these are the soft-shelled turtles and the green sea turtles and the box turtles. So on to crocodilians, order Crocodilia. They're large, thick-skinned, long-tailed aquatic reptiles. There's 23 species of them with alligator, caiman crocodile, gharial, and then onto the tuatara, which are rare lizard-like reptiles with the crest of enlarged spines along its neck, back, and tail. So these only have 2 species, and they're only the tuatara. So you can see. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and 4 of them known. And as the lizards, we're going to talk about the lizards first, and there's a lot of living lizards species now, 5,500 species. So going on, the tuatara is from New Zealand, so that's why it's pretty. There's only 2 major kinds of species in that order. So, and the largest order that we're going to be talking about is 8,400 species, and that's the lizard. So we're going to first talk about reptiles on the whole, and then we're going to go into the lizards and then on to the snakes. So I don't know if this is my favorite. I'm not a big lizard fan, but you know, I know some people that are, including my grandson. But anyway, cold-blooded, let's see. First of all, these orders, we went over the orders there, and they're on every continent except for Antarctica, because we know that these animals are cold-blooded. What does cold-blooded mean? Basically means that their temperature fluctuates with the environment. So that's cold-blooded because they regulate their temperature by their external factors, such as lying in the sun and such. You know, their body temperature fluctuates with the temperature. These animals that fluctuate in this manner are called poikilotherms. So that's the word you need to know. Polychilotherms means they're very temperature, cold-blooded. So let's go on to the next here. Okay, we're going to be going to the heart in just a little bit. But let's see if there's some pictures of some lizards here. Okay, we'll go look at some pictures here. We're talking about the lizards here. So being cold-blooded, they must avoid extreme temperatures. So they can't live in extreme temperatures. So they don't, whenever it's freezing cold, reptiles do not survive. And they must also, in avoiding these, they must, during that time, even the heat, so you'll see in the times of extreme heat, they have to go off and cool off in the shade. So they are tropical, most of them, and they are nocturnal. They come out at night. In the winter, reptiles usually hibernate because they can't be active when it's really cold. So the cold just really slows them down. Let's just say that. Reptiles, of course, are vertebrates. They're tetrapods, except for snakes. Tetrapods means four. Tetra means four, and pods means legs. So they're four-legged, except for snakes that have no legs. And they're cold-blooded, like I said. They have dry, tough skin and scales. They molt, and that when molting means they get new scales. They get rid of part of their scales and molt and get new ones. And you'll see these skin portions laying around. Sometimes they even eat their scales. So, and sometimes several times a year they'll molt, and they can survive living in water. So most of them can survive water, and at long periods they have claws and toes. Crocodiles especially can survive in the water. They like the water, so some of them do. But most reptiles have a 3-chambered heart. So let's look at that heart that we had there. So here's the heart, the picture of the heart there. So you'll see it looks like 4 chambers there, but the ventricle, it has a septum in the middle, but they consider that bottom ventricle 1 cylinder, except for crocodiles. Crocodiles have 4 chambers, just like mammals do. And their lungs, the snake only has 1 lung, but most reptiles have 2 lungs, just like we do. Oviparous means they lay eggs. If you see the word eggs, most lizards or most reptiles lay eggs, and they have a shell with an amnion inside of the shell to protect the growing embryo inside the egg. So they reproduce on land. Let's go to a different section here. Let's go back to our picture here. So they reproduce on land. A lot of them have to come out. They can't reproduce in water. They lay their eggs on the land. Now there's some ovoviviparous. What's the word ovoviviparous mean? It means they bring alive. They're bringing alive. So it means basically born alive. And some snakes and lizards are oviparous. Ovoviviparous, they call it ovoviviparous. Remember, ovoviviparous is leg egging, and ovoviviparous is being born alive inside. Usually those are snakes. And usually reptiles do not really nourish or care for their young, but they do guard their eggs. So let's go back to this other. Okay. So lizards. We're going to talk about lizards in a little bit. Lizards being the most numerous of reptiles here. Kind of going through here. So, and we'll go on to lizards. They are in the order of Squamata, the same as snakes. Lizards have eyelids and external ears. They have legs with claws. They have a lower jaw that's attached, not like a snake. Let's go back to our lizard group. There's some types of lizards there. The snake's jaw is very disjointed, and lizards and iguanas and chameleons and geckos and skinks, those are all in the category of squamata lizards. So 84,000 species. Of course, the snakes have no eyelids or no ears or no legs, and their lower jaw is disjointed so they can open their mouth so wide. So, but as for talking about the lizards now, they're quite different. So the habitats, where do these lizards live? Well, tropical mostly, because they're cold-blooded. You know, they basically have to live somewhere they could survive. They can't freeze. So they live like in the jungle and grasslands, tidelands and deserts. They live practically everywhere, but just where they don't freeze to death. So they're terrestrial. Most lizards are terrestrial, living on land. Some run erect and get up on their hind feet. And some are good swimmers too. So the Galapagos is the only marine iguana. Look, there's a marine iguana right there. See here? And it's on the Galapagos Islands. And we call this the marine iguana sea animal. And it eats seaweeds. So this is the only marine lizard. Wow, kind of weird looking, huh? Some are venomous. So you get some that are poisoned. The Gila monster is pink and yellow. There's only two really poisonous lizards, the Gila monster and the Mexican bearded lizard. And they are both poison. Basically, they can actually hold, they don't like have fangs, but they cannot strike like a snake. Let's just say that. They hold their prey, and then they poison their prey. So they don't have like the same kind of fangs that a snake would have. So the reef gecko is the smallest lizard, and it's only like less than 6/10 of an inch. That's pretty small, the little reef gecko. And then on to the Komodo dragon, which is 300 pounds and 12 feet long, that lives in Indonesia. Just think of a 300-pound lizard. They call it the monitor, a monitor. So the Komodo dragon is called a monitor from Indonesia. Huge, huge. Here's a picture of one right there. 300-pound thing. So, let's see. Chameleons. Let's talk about the chameleons. I don't see a picture of a chameleon there, but actually these are types of animals, which are types of chameleons. So chameleons, there's 100 types of lizards that are chameleons, and they blend with the surroundings. And a lot of them live in Madagascar and Africa. The anoles are the American ones. So here's the anole. This is an American chameleon there. And it's really kind of in the iguana family. It can change color. The males change blue to scarlet when they're in mating season. Can you believe that they change blue? The race runner is in North America, and it's runs like for 18 hours it can run, it says. And it's seasonal, and it changes the color. So a lot of times these chameleons change from green to emerald. So molting. So all lizards molt, and usually every month or so, although they molt in different times for different lizards. The epidermis comes off in strips and patches, and they may eat their own molt. Also, lizards have detaching tails. So that's one of the deal. Their tails are bright colors. So a predator comes after them and will grab its tail, and the tail will come off, and they'll run away. So tree lizard is a legless lizard. The legless lizard is in the glass. It kind of looks like a snake, but it's a lizard. And the tail the tail can come off on that. The tail keeps moving after it comes off. Have you ever seen? My grandson Hudson pulled the tail off a really long one, and there's the tail was kept moving and moving after it on the ground. It was really gross. He pulls the tails, but a lot of the lizards have detaching tails, and then they grow a new one. So other kinds of lizards, skinks. There's 600 species. Let's see if we can, talked about the detaching tails here. Let's see if we can go on and get some different lizards here, pictures. Oh, here's a chameleon here. We've been talking about the chameleon up here. See his long tongue. So as you can see, it has that long, sticky tongue-like thing. Long tongue in his body. Well, let's go on. We're talking about the skinks. The skinks. Let's see. There's some skinks down here. Horned lizard, frilled lizard. Let's look at some of these lizards. Anyway, we're talking about skinks. There are 600 species of skinks, and they discard their tail sometimes. They have glossy skin, cylinder body, brilliant bright blue tails on them. So when they get caught with their tail, it actually draws the predator to the tail, and they catch their tail, and they can run away. So it's kind of, it's kind of good, because they realize that because you always want to catch a lizard by the tail, don't you? A collared lizard is the only one that doesn't grow a new tail, and they live in the United States. The Draco is a flying dragons, and they're the only flying lizards, but they really glide. They don't fly, and they're in Malaysia. And they have these 5 to 6 pairs of ribs that allows them to fly. The frilled lizard, here's one right there. Frilled lizard is from Australia. The hind legs, as you can see, the hind legs and frill of the grand head. They have unusual hind legs. You see how they're kind of out to the sides, weird. And it hisses and appears larger. So it hisses and appears larger, because see how it blows up a bit there, so it kind of scares its prey away. Then we have the horned lizard. These are very common in the Southwest United States, like in Tucson and Arizona, Texas and stuff. So unusual scales and have this horned look. They have a horn, look like a horn on there. There is the chuckwalla. So what is a chuckwalla? Chuckwalla also is in the South United States and Mexico, and it hides in crevices and inflates its body to up to 2 times with air. So it makes it look huge compared 2 times as big as it is. And these horned lizards again are called horned toads. One thing about the horned toad too, it squirts blood from its eyes. Get out of here. It squirts blood from its eyes at 3 feet. So that's quite a deal. So let's go on up to that chameleon. There's the chameleon. You see it right there? So the chameleon has that long tongue, it's a hollow tongue, and it's sticky, but it also sucks the insect inside its tongue. And kind of weird. Now let's go down to these geckos. Here's the geckos on the bottom here in the leaf. See the little geckos right there? See if I can here we go, geckos. So the geckos are the only lizard that can make a loud noise. And there's a banded gecko, which is common in the Southwest United States. Geckos have that large eye. See their eye poking out there? And they also eat flies, and they eat scorpions. So geckos are really welcomed. If you have a gecko, they eat scorpions, and they eat all these flies, and they eat all kinds of insects. These insects, so they keep the insects away from you, against humans. So we call them the welcome guests. They have foot pads. See their foot pads there? They look like adhesive, and they stick and climb walls with those foot pads. Those are geckos. And so I think that's it for lizards. Let's go on and see. Yep, that's it for lizards. So let's kind of a little review there. We got chameleons, we got geckos with the foot pads. We have horned lizards that spit blood from their eye. We have frilled lizards. All these, the chuckwalla gets huge, makes himself filled with air, and inflated 2 times its body size. Here's the chuckwalla right here. And let's see, it's kind of a little review here though. And of course we have the iguanas there, the Komodo dragon, the biggest one that can weigh up to 300 pounds, and these green anoles, which are kind of a type of chameleon there too. So all these different kinds. Let's see. I think that's it. I think we'll stop there on the lizards. So you can see all these family. We looked at the heart. Remember, they only have 3 chambers heart because the ventricles kind of put together. If you look at this heart here, you can see how it's similar to our heart. What happened there? Okay. You see how it's similar to our heart, and it has as for it coming down, here's the ventricle, it comes out there, pumps the blood out here, and it goes both these directions, coming out in this aortic arch and through this artery, as for the artery there, coming up here, and then you see how it comes back into the pulmonary artery, and you have the left, coming from the left atrium down. The atriums drop down into the ventricles of the heart. So kind of similar to what the heart usually does, only we have this, the ventricle being more together as to 3 chambers instead of 4 chambers. So that's it.